Welcome to SVG-TV News for Tuesday, July 2nd, 2019. I am Yvette Bowens with the details. Issues relating to the protection of employer and employee rights as well as the deficiencies of the current laws were discussed at a luncheon today hosted by the Chamber of Industry and Commerce. Representatives from various private sector entities were in attendance, and they highlighted some issues of concern relating to the status and protection of employers and employees' rights. Delivering the feature address at the luncheon was the economist with the Labour Department, Steve Stewart, who said the event serves as a means to create an equitable situation and takes into consideration the evolving global workforce. Highlighting one serious issue of concern, Stewart said some employees find loopholes around the law to hire persons on a contractual basis to avoid paying severance. He explained how employers are able to do so and highlighted a possible solution to this issue.
And at the end of 1 year, they say, well, okay, your services are terminated. But then within 2 months or so, they are rehired. Now, the question is, would that be considered continuous employment? And if that goes on for, let's say, 2-3 years, how do you define that? And from us at the Labour Department, it's a way of getting around the whole notion of paying severance if and when it becomes due. So that is something that needs to be cleaned up, the matter of termination of fixed employment. A point that was highlighted as for recommendation was the termination of fixed-term employment. It was recommended that a period as within the Barbados and Jamaican Acts would be included that would deem a fixed-term employment contract to be continuing if the person is rehired within a specific period of time, which is currently being considered at 4 weeks.
Many employees face disciplinary action for what is termed as misconduct and gross misconduct, which could lead to suspension without pay. The economist said misconduct is not clearly defined in the law and made 2 recommendations to deal with the issue.
Clear definition for misconduct and gross misconduct, as well as the escalation guidance for infringements within the Act. And it also was recommended that the monetary penalty be deleted. I take it that I'm going back to the issue of suspension. It is often taken that suspension is without pay. Yeah? Do you suspend your workers without pay or with pay? If it is without pay, then of course you would be imposing a monetary penalty contrary to one of the sections which I refer earlier on. So the question is, should we keep it or should we delete it? And I think the recommendation was for deletion of that term. Right.
Stewart said many employees have raised the issue of exploitation. He spoke of some solutions which could reduce this problem and boost the capacity of the Labour Department to enforce the laws of the land.
It's recommended that Section 46, which relates to offences and penalties and executable orders by Section 47, be bolstered with reasonable mechanism for enforcement. And then another recommendation was that of the severance fund. It was agreed that the jurisdiction does not need to have such a fund at this time, but rather definitive periods for payment of severance in relation to Section 27 with adequate deterrence for failing to make the required payments. But please note here that a severance fund has been legislated in St. Kitts and Nevis, just for your information. With respect to exploitation of workers, it was recommended that some sort of sensitization occurs both to employers and employees in terms of rights, in particularly for foreign employers hiring persons in St. Vincent and the Grenadines.
The Ministry of Finance will be working closely with other ministries to analyze and re-strategize how best they can improve on programs to meet the Unsustainable Development Goals. This is according to Deanna of the Ministry of Finance and Economic Planning while addressing a recently held symposium in observance of Public Service Week. Ralph noted that the ministry is tasked with policy planning for sustainable development, which guides the broader national policy.
Now, in 2019, the Minister of Finance, in his budget speech, indicated that all development efforts in St. Vincent and the Grenadines will be guided by the SDGs. The ministry, supported by our development partners, including the UNDP and ECLAC, is currently aligning our national development goals with the Sustainable Development Goals. Specifically, with their help, we are trying to review the existing strategies, plans, and programs and identify areas for change. We are making, from there, we will make initial recommendations. That is, for example, we will look in terms of where there are gaps. So we have 5 goals. There are 17 goals for the Sustainable Development Goals. It is not that we're going to adopt new goals. It is that we're going to try and more or less incorporate what those goals are under our 5 broad goals.
SVG has a policy document from 2013 to 2015, which has 5 goals. The revision of these goals is not expected to change the document. However, Ralph said that will be based on resources available and short-term targets set out.
Based on where we are and what we would have said we want to do for development for 2025, because the global agenda is now at 2030, we will now put our efforts towards 2030 and see how our targeted efforts could be moved towards that area. Then, at the end of all that, we will formulate a strategy and plan using more or less a system thinking where we will incorporate the recommendations and the insights from the above steps and strategies that I just outlined and match them to our commitments and our ambition, especially our resources that we have available and the capacities that we have.
Data collection is an area being looked at by the Ministry of Finance, which Ralph said is available, but not properly streamlined for accessibility.
To see how we can maximize participation, incentives. We can start offering incentive. As the Ministry of Finance, budgeting is our biggest tool. So the question is, what can we really do to empower our men and women in society and move towards a gender equality and a more inclusive society? Now, should we probably give incentive to line ministries who have decided to actually make their budget, collect their data aggregated in such a way? Or could we set different targets? There are different mannerisms that we can explore.
International law protects the weak and mighty, and Minister of National Mobilization Frederick Stevenson called on the Organization of American States, the OAS, to cease from interfering in the internal affairs of Nicaragua. The South American country has been gripped by political and economic instability, with international organizations accusing the government of serious human rights violations. Speaking at the OAS General Assembly in Colombia last Thursday, Minister Stevenson said SVG recognizes the principles and precepts of international law and holds the position which is mature and pragmatic. He said some members have been engaged in illegal activities and are violating international law and the founding charter of the OAS.
It is in a free-for-all space culled out and extended by these hegemonies which have economic might and other elements in their arsenal, where size is often the principal determinant of dominance and victory, that might is right. Mr. President, where there is a providence of those who are perceived to be small and lagging economically, how much do member states gain equality and parity of esteem? How can they be mighty also? How can their voices be heard? Mr. President, these unequivocal responses is this, within the provisions of the international law. St. Vincent and the Grenadines therefore decries the violation of the principles of the international law, a practice which threatens the integrity of the Organization of American States and violates its foundational principles as outlined in Chapter 2, Article 3A and B of the Charter.
Minister Stevens said the OAS was created to help preserve peace and called on member states to respect and follow the rules of the OAS Charter.
Founding fathers of the Organization of American States 70 years ago in the post-war era were determined to ensure that the errors leading to the catastrophic world wars would not be repeated. How far have we come from the ideals enshrined in the Charter? Mr. President, the Organization of American States, its commissions, notably the Inter-American Commission on Human Rights, the IAHCR, should be mindful to be objective in the approach to an analysis of the events in Nicaragua. The Government of Reconciliation and Unity in Nicaragua is engaged in a process for electoral reform and the restoration of stability. It has shown good faith in agreeing to have the Organization of American States mediator involved. The government of St. Vincent and the Grenadines therefore calls on those member states who are avidly seeking to interfere in the internal affairs of Nicaragua to cease and allow the process's decent time to take effect.
The services of the National Accreditation Board are expected to improve following this country's participation in a regional quality assurance workshop in Grenada. The workshop was held under the theme Strengthening and Sustaining Structures and Processes for Administration of Quality Assurance in Post-Secondary Institutions in Grenada. Senior Education Officer in the Accreditation Unit, Decima Hamilton, and External Evaluator from the Public Sector Reform Unit, Andrea Hazel, represented St. Vincent and the Grenadines. Hamilton made a presentation on the quality assurance services offered in St. Vincent and the Grenadines. The workshop was organized by the Grenada National Accreditation Board and took place from Wednesday 26 to Friday 28th June. It drew participants from St. Lucia, Antigua and Barbuda, and St. Vincent and the Grenadines. The training was conducted by Trinidadian Dr. Michael Bradshaw. The Fire Department of the Royal St. Vincent and the Grenadines Police Force is encouraging members of the public to make fire safety a priority during this busy carnival season. Speaking with our news team at the annual Carnival exhibition hosted by the Royal St. Vincent and the Grenadines Police Force last Friday, Corporal Ethron Bowens of the Fire Department pointed out that the smallest fire can have devastating effects and encouraged parents in particular to do what is necessary to ensure their children's safety.
Parents, sometimes they have the children, they want to go out and party, sometimes they leave the children at home unsupervised. Sometimes they go. So when you are going, make sure you don't leave no candle unattended or lighted, leaving home and leave the children sleep. Some of them leave the children sleeping at times and go out and party, and sometimes we know sometimes these are the main causes sometimes that will cause a fire to be ignited, especially if the candle is close to a window or close to the bedhead, as what we might say at times. So sometimes the candle might fall on the mattress.
Corporal Ethron said persons who attend shows may return home tired and hungry and urged them against cooking at such a time.
Do not cook if you are sleeping. You know, sometimes we went out, we come back, and sometimes we might feel a bit hungry. You know, we as human, you might feel, say, boy, I feel hungry and I want to go and get something to eat. If you are sleeping, please do not go and cook, because your house might burn down. Your job sleep, the pot began to burn. Do not place combustible solid liquid and gases next to heat, source, or in open fire. Burn trash in small controllable amount. And have a garden hose standby just in case the fire get out of control.
Electrical fires in the past have caused the loss of homes and property, and Corporal Bowen said it is important for persons to ensure that their circuits are not overloaded and warned against leaving flammable materials around electrical devices. The police corporal said it makes good sense for a homeowner to own a fire extinguisher. One of the firemen was on hand at Friday's exhibition to demonstrate the proper use of this device.
Class is A and Class B fire, which is combustible material such as wood, paper, or Class B, which is fuel such as gas and other stuff. So this is, when using a fire extinguisher, there is a command word here, which is pass, which means heat, hold, aim, squeeze, and the other is sweep. So what you will do, you will pull the spin. Pull the pin. Aim, squeeze, and sweep from left to right.
At the recent 37th passing out parade of police recruits, Pastor Adolphus Isaacs in his invocation urged all police officers to sow good seeds if they are to serve the people well. Sowing seeds was the theme for this year's passing out parade, which saw 78 recruits successfully completing the 6-month police training program. Pastor Adolphus Isaacs also cautioned the recruits of the types of seeds they sow as a member of the police force.
As you embark on your career, is one that is under scrutiny, and you're called upon to sow seeds. And I would like to suggest that each of you would like to know that you're sowing good seeds. But always be reminded that wherever there is good, there is also evil. And that is why one has to be much on your guard to make sure that at all times you project those things that are good and proper and sound.
Love, godliness, and fairness were some of the seeds the pastor asked all police officers to sow. He also noted that honesty, kindness, and integrity are traits all policemen and women should have.
Remember the seed of kindness. Be your brother's keeper, even though you're policemen and women. Sow the seed of honesty. Walk upright. Let people see at all times your true character. Sow the seed of integrity. Live your life that people can't question you much. There are those who will find some reason to question. But at the end of the day, once your life is honest, once your life is pure, your integrity would stand the test of time. Walk in your integrity.
There are now just over 1,000 police officers serving with the RSVG police force. Police have arrested and charged 3 students of Barley with a number of gun and ammunition-related offenses. Jacan Gabriel, 15 years, Romel Francis, 17 years, and Rashad Anderson, 16 years, all of Barley were arrested and charged for allegedly having in their possession 1 round of 12-gauge ammunition, for having in their possession 1 homemade firearm make and serial number unknown without a license issued under the Firearms Act at Barley. Gabriel was additionally arrested and charged with allegedly intending to discharge a loaded firearm at a 19-year-old laborer of Barley. This incident occurred at Barley last Wednesday. The accused teens appeared before the Serious Offences Court where they pleaded not guilty to the offences. They were granted bail in the sum of $10,000 each with 1 surety. The matter was adjourned to September 23, 2019. The La GRACIA Dance Company recently represented SVG in the Martinique Quadrille Dance Festival. Members of the group returned home last Tuesday with a revived and renewed perspective on promoting more of SVG's culture through dance. Artistic Director of La GRACIA Dance Company, Maxine Brown, said it was a wonderful experience and that they are looking forward to enhancing the work program of the dance company.
Experience. While we were in Martinique, because we were selected, in fact invited, to participate in the Quadrille Festival. Through that experience, I've learned so much. And as a teacher, once a teacher, always a teacher. I'll now come back to my country, and what I would have acquired there, I come and teach my folks. Teacher Maxine likes style. And from going to that festival, I saw new styles in ways we can enhance our costuming for quadrille. And those who know me didn't know that La GRACIA, and by extension, dance in SVG has really improved costume-wise. I've invested in groups, and they have also invested in themselves to look great on stage. So we bring back style, we bring back new moves, and of course, we bring back a new motivation to work harder in the dance department.
La GRACIA was one of 4 Caribbean groups that participated in the Martinique Quadrille Festival. Some of the members of the dance company said they are thankful for the exposure.
In Martinique, they are very, open about their culture. So I'm hoping that in St. Vincent, we can be more open about the culture, so maybe have festivals for quadrille to keep the culture alive. Experience a lot of different cultures, different dances, different people, different language. The experience is very interesting and lovely. Even though they speak French, there were still a lot of persons that tried to accommodate with us and our English language.
We got to be exposed to different aspects of different people's quadrilles, see how open, like Batavia said, it's very open with culture, it's very appreciated, which is not very similar to St. Vincent.
And what excites me most is the amount of quadrille dances we see at one time. You know, the opportunity to see different varieties of quadrilles dance at one time. We have a lot of varieties. We in particular have a special type of Vincentian quadrille which we present using the pan.
The experience was amazing. The Quadrille Festival, as I go deeper into it, I saw different art forms, the style, and what struck me was that not only young persons like us can do the quadrille, but what I noticed is that in Martinique, the seniors, they are the more persons who involved in the quadrille.
Here's a snippet of one of the dance pieces they performed in Martinique. The La GRACIA Dance Company is now 17 years in existence and over the years has participated in several festivals out of state. Next year, members of the dance company are expected to travel to Russia to participate in that country's cultural festival.